All right, welcome everyone. We have a guest speaker today. I'm very excited to share with the students. We're going to be talking about food sustainability, and without me doing most of the talking, I'm going to turn it over to our guest speaker. And go ahead and introduce yourself, if you would.
So I'm Vincent Doumeizel. I'm Vice President for Food and Sustainability by Lloyd's Register Group. Lloyd's Register Group is a very specific organization. First of all, because we are born in 1760, so we had to be very sustainable to keep operating all that time. So we born in 1760 with an objective to secure the maritime business and to classify and to verify the shipping industry. And then we've moved to many other different type of business over the last 260 years. One of them being food, notably over the last 20 years. And we are now the ones verifying all the big organization and their entire supply chain on food safety, on food sustainability, on HSE principle, hygiene, safety, and environmental issues, social, and so forth. So we are the one to secure or trying to secure the entire supply chain, and I'm in charge of food. And in addition of this, I take a particular look at the sustainability piece as well. One thing which is important to mention to understand why we are a bit particular beside our age is that we are fully owned by a foundation. So there's no shareholder in our group. I mean, because we had to be neutral to verify and to ensure everything. We are owned by a foundation. So the foundation is the sole shareholder of the group, and all the profits that are made from the group are used by the foundation for charitable objectives, which is important because it really sits in the core of our value. And these charitable objectives, which are mostly in education and research, have to sustain a better world and a safer world. That's the motto of the group. So yeah, that's really core and center in our value, and we have a lot of projects, notably at the very moment. We are building a foresight review on food safety, so what will be the food safety of tomorrow? And by food safety, we involve, and we'll come back to this, we include the food sustainability piece, which is absolutely part of it. And so we gathered a lot of experts over the last 6 months and met them in various places around the world. Notably in San Diego, we had a workshop in UCSD on this, gathering a lot of people there to share insights about what should be the food system of tomorrow to ensure safe and sustainable food to everyone on this planet, which is our ultimate objective, because food is not a commodity like others. It's much more than this.
And the idea of tomorrow, it's a very global concern. I mean, you correct me if I'm wrong. Your office is in London, but you're actually in Edinburgh, and we actually met in Dubai. Um, uh, and you were just talking about UC San Diego. It's something that it cannot be done from an office in any one location. It has to be a larger operation, I'm imagining.
Yeah, we are absolutely global. We have offices all around the world. Uh, and I think when it comes to food, it's even more relevant because food is a global topic. Food is produced everywhere, it's consumed everywhere. There's various appetite for different type of food all around the world, and it's transported. It's a very fragmented supply chain, so it's very hard to monitor that supply chain uh, because it's absolutely fragmented with millions, if not billions, of stakeholders, farmers, small producers. There's no barrier to entry. Anyone can go into food and produce food. You can do that in your garden and go to the market and sell it and be part of the supply chain. So it's very hard for the big brands. And the other problem with food, not only is global, highly fragmented and highly complex, it is by far the most complex supply chain. It is also very critical because food is not something that you can, I would say, when you can reduce. I mean, you need food for stop, and we need more and more food every day. So, and that's one of the big problem. I mean, we've got 300,000 people in addition to feed every day on the planet. and there's already 1 billion that are starving or are going hunger to bed every day. And we've got no arable land left, and we've got a major part of our crop that is used for biofuel, a growing part at least. So there's a question: how will we feed these people sustainably and safely? And you have to be everywhere to address that globally, indeed.
And this fragmentation, I would imagine that it is a fragmentation that becomes just as much as population grows over time, so does this fragmentation.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, indeed. And this fragmentation is a problem once again when it comes to monitoring this supply chain, because and monitoring is important because the problem, and that relates to sustainability a lot as well. The problem is that we have consumers that are more and more educated and demanding. Most of the consumers are ready to pay a premium to get good food, but not only good food, not only healthy food, not only safe food. They want responsibly sourced food. They want food free from GMO, free from animal abuse. They want us food to pay attention to environmental issues, and that's very important. I think that there's an awareness in our generation, and it's very important to everyone. And we are actor of this change. We are the one driving the change. It's something that I keep saying, and it's my personal belief because I can see how the food industry reacts to the interaction with the consumers, and their reaction is very high. So all in all, we are the first generation. We are the first generation to know that the food industry is the biggest contributor, or soon to be the biggest contributor in global warming and greenhouse gas. So it's over 20% now, and we will overtake energy production soon. So that's there. We are the biggest contributor. We are one of the biggest contributors to the explosion of non-communicable disease like obesity, autism, cancer, because of what we eat every day. We are the biggest, or we have a main contribution. We are the first generation to know that as well in water scarcity. Food is responsible of a lot of that. Biodiversity extinction, land depletion of our land and of our resources. We have a responsibility in modern slavery as well, which is a big aspect of sustainability. I mean, there's 25 million people in a state of modern slavery today, which is twice more than the total number of slaves who went from Africa to America over the 300 years of human trafficking. So it's quite huge. Today we have twice more than this. And we have a responsibility into that, because if you look at this last topic, for instance, uh, you would tell me what can I do for that? And but it, I mean, the three biggest commodity involved with modern slavery are coffee, sugar, for coffee, sugar, tea, and cocoa. So I mean, I bet all of us had one of them today. So each time we eat and we drink, because we have the choice to choose something that is promoting responsible sourcing, sustainable good practices, each time we eat and we drink, we have a responsibility, and it's a vote for the world we want. And if we manage to enable a very trustable system, we can deliver that vote to the client and to the consumers, and make sure that yes, they are paying a premium, they want a label that this food is free from this, is paying attention to the environment and so forth. And if we enable traceability and transparency along the supply chain, then we can build that up and reward the good practices from the industry. Because the industry is willing to do something, but they just need to be rewarded for that. And buying their stuff is the way we reward them. But we can only buy their stuff if we know what we are buying, and if we are sure that it is actually something sustainable.
Well, and I think that it's easy to see that over time we have more questions that we're asking. You go back to probably when we were kids, and when there was a question about food, it was, do you want fries with that, or how much do you want more? Now it's, is it local? Is it organic? Is it sustainable? Is it GMO free? Is it environmentally friendly? Is it halal certified? Is it kosher? Is it? There's so many questions that we have to, realize people are asking. This starts to create more and more of an authenticity concern in terms of, is it certified this? Is it certified this? And from your experience, do you see that increase in efforts to gain those kind of certifications, those kind of auditing standards, as seeing something that is increasing the cost of operations and increasing the cost of food?
Yes, it has a slight impact on the cost, of course, and the cost of food is something very, very sensible because you want food, anyone wants food to be affordable because food is the most critical commodity that you have. And all government will pay a lot of attention to keep food affordable for the population. Otherwise, it would be social tensions and riots and a big problem. So food needs to be affordable, which limits the investment, which is a big problem. And also, we have to bear in mind that out of the 800 million people that are starving on this planet, 700 million of them are farmers or food producers, which shows that the ones that are supposed to feed us, they are starving. So that's why it's important to keep that in mind. And yes, there's more and more question, and certification is critical there because the third party verification is the only way to make sure that yes, you have a brand that is committing to something, but they actually work at all. And otherwise it's just allegation. So I mean, we are here to secure this vote. Once again, that's our remit is to make sure that when we say it's organic and organic, there are some very solid standards to make sure it is organic. Then after that, everybody has his own definition of what organic should be. That's another discussion. But at least there's a common definition of what organic is today, and it's clear for everyone. And then when you buy organic, you're sure it's organic. When you buy something that has the fair trade standard, you're sure it's fair trade, and the consumers and the farmers, so we have more revenue out of it and are not starving to death. So that's important, and once again, that's what will change. And the same for greenhouse gas. If you manage to find a new way to feed your livestock and to decrease the methane emissions, which is huge because I mean the livestock methane emission in terms of greenhouse gas equal the car emission of the planet today. So if you manage to decrease your livestock emission, it's just as important as having an electric car instead of a normal car. But you have to reward this somehow, and to get rewarded for your effort. And so if you can promote that through a label, then customers will be more inclined to choose your product and then promote that best practice. That's how it goes. But once again, the important thing is that we are the driver. I mean, we consumers, we are all together connected to the same food network, and we are the driver of the change. We are just the verifiers, the middleman that makes sure that the commitment from the brands meets the requirement of very savvy and demanding consumers.
Well, and speaking of connected to a network, in 2017, both you and I were in Dubai speaking on food policy, on food safety. And Dubai is a great example in terms of population density and a place where the government is looking at technology, whether it be technology to deliver food or technology to track, trace, certify, verify food. And we even witnessed the launch of their Food Watch app. What role do you think technology can play, whether it's blockchain or some other technology, in efforts to increase and provide for sustainability of food?
Well, technology is essential, and I think the food industry right now is at the convergence of two types of innovation. It's driven by consumer, but it's at the convergence of life science innovation on one hand, which is our capacity to sequence DNA very cheaply, to have new type of production, insects, seaweeds, new type of protein, lab meat, and so forth. To our understanding of microbiome as well, which is, I think, a big step forward in our understanding of life, because we can really increase efficiency of the food production. We can decrease the impact of food disease without using any pesticides or GMO, whatever. So there's and increase the nutritional aspect of the food as well, use it better by a better understanding of what the microbiome is. So all this innovation from life science will converge with data science innovation. So that the life science converging with data science to enable a new food safety system. And when I talk about this data science innovation, I'm talking about the blockchain. Obviously, I will come back to this, but also about the drones, the Internet of Things, what we call the Industry 4.0. And we are moving from a when we look at it from a verification perspective, we are moving from a snapshot exercise where once a year we go in a factory and we verify it, make sure that it's complying with the rule, to a real-time compliance monitoring because of all this data that we can gather from the various sensor, from the IoT, from this online information that we have, is it can be converted and make and you can check that the real time compliance of your supply chain, and that's very very important in terms of risk and in terms of promoting once again the good practices and make sure that your sustainability is optimal in your food supply chain. So it's absolutely key when it comes to blockchain. Blockchain, the big buzzword. When it comes to food, I think we are not there yet in food. I mean, we have nice use case, but we have not really found out the real application of blockchain. And I think it will come with other innovation. Just like your cell phone or your smartphone is not just TCP/IP protocol. And blockchain to me is just a new version, much better than TCP/IP protocol for transactions. What you can do out of it, I mean, it's to be done. I mean, your smartphone is not just TCP/IP protocol. It is a touch screen. It is a webcam. It is digital payment. It is a lot of other things, huge processors, um, and powerful network and so forth. So it's much more than just a protocol. And it goes the same with blockchain because the digital record, yes, blockchain is very decentralized. It's very secure. It's a new type. It's a promise from a new type of governance because it's not. It could be not owned by anyone. So there's a lot of things, but there's a food is a physical asset, which is not the case for currency or insurance, which are mostly handled by blockchain. So food is a physical asset, so it's a problem. I mean, how can you track food from how can you track the tuna from the fishing to the consumption? You cannot put a barcode on the tuna, and you have and you can only track the digital record in the blockchain. So that's the problem. I mean, what if substitution? What if? But once again, there's a lot of innovation that will bring a solution there. So typically, if you take DNA sequencing or microbiome identification, then you can tag the flesh of your tuna and make sure, and then the barcode becomes a product itself, and then you can make sure that the tuna that was registered during the fishing is the one that you consume today because the barcode is there and it's the flesh of the tuna itself. So once again, it's a convergence of innovation. Blockchain it's not the silver bullet. It will not do everything. It has raised unexpected hope, I would say, um, but it's not everything. But yeah, all in all, just to answer your question, technology is absolutely essential, and it will create a huge difference in the food business.
Well, here's a question perhaps. If you had $100 to invest into sustainability, just for the sake of discussion here, would you put $100 into the technology, or would you put $100 into changing behavioral, the way consumers and people in the industry, farmers behave, or do you think that that $100 needs to be split in many different ways in order to have a bigger, more sustainable solution in terms of what we're looking at here?
Yeah, it's a mix of it all. I mean, a very practical example of that is a topic that we are working a lot at the moment on because there's a great emotion around that, which is the plastic pollution. We know that the pollution comes from the food, mostly from single-use plastic. So there are many different solutions when you look at it. I mean, we know that it's a big topic because you have more plastic in the ocean than you have fish at the moment because we intake plastic every day out of water, out of the food, out of air, everything. We are surrounded by plastic pollution, and that will have a very strong impact on our ecosystem and on our health very soon. And there's already one, obviously. So that's a problem that needs to be addressed today. And it's always complicated when it comes to food because there's a trade-off between if we stop using plastics, then food waste will increase, food pathogens will increase, food safety will decrease. So that's, I mean, we cannot do that properly. So there's multiple action needed on that, and I'm just mentioning that because it's quite absolutely symptomatic. So when you want to tackle the plastic issue, you need to promote new type of packaging. We've seen that. I visited last week a company called OO in London, and they are producing edible bubble of water made out of seaweed. So you can, instead of having a glass, a plastic glass, and use it once and throw it away for forever, then you have an edible bubble of plastic and you swallow it all. And you can do that for ketchup, for mayo, for alcohol, for shampoo in the hotel. It's fantastic. I mean, so that's a new type of packaging, and we have to promote that action. But that will not make it all. I mean, we cannot remove all the plastic because we need to transport our food. We need to. Plastic has a lot of very interesting applications. So we need to promote also behavioral changes by the consumer: reuse, recycle, shop in a different way, bring your own bag, bring your own recipients, go in specific plastic-free shops when you don't have anything, so and so forth. Promote specific products that are plastic-free. So there's so it's a global change to be done. And in addition to this, life science is important because we will keep using plastic. So there's a lot of new way to degrade plastic. We are talking about microbiome, a specific mix of bacteria we've discovered recently is really capable to degrade the plastic pollutions and can be very efficient to that. So once again, behavioral changes, life science innovation, optimizing, using data science to monitor where we can improve and where are the best practices, and new type of packaging, innovative solution. It's a mix of all. It cannot be. It's too complex to be only one.
And then I think that that complexity is one of those things that if we ignore it for the next 20 years, it's just going to be that much more difficult as we have less options and more casualties, if you will, in terms of you can't we can't just stop the train and not eat for a while until we figure this out and then start eating foods again. We will always be eating. We will always be generating impact on our environment, and there's got to be a way in which we start thinking about this differently. Um, and here you're talking about how Lloyd's Register has been around since the 1700s. There's not too many companies that can say they've been
No.
around, and obviously you've got turnover of people, but the idea of focusing on a mission, focusing on your efforts, not every company focuses on sustainability as much as your company does. What does it take? And perhaps this is my last kind of big question. What does it take for a company to prioritize in sustainability, like your company does? Not every company says that that's job one.
Well, I think we see by because we deliver a lot of certification around sustainability, and food sustainability it's not exactly the same as food safety because food safety is a given. I mean, no one wants his competitor to sell unsafe food because if Mars has a recall, it's an impact for the entire industry. Food sustainability is still a bit of a competitive topic between brands, and it's a good way to attract. I'm not saying that they are doing that only for that purpose. There is some philanthropic activities. There is some. I mean, we are all responsible citizens, and the brands are as well. They are responsible brands. They are a lot, but it's also a way to attract investment. Food sustainability has become and is good, essential for investors. So there's over 100 sustainability index that are carefully monitored by investors. And when you invest in a company, it's important. And then ultimately, once again, that's something we all have kids. We may have good position in big brands, but we have kids and we want them to live happily and better. So and for a company like ours, which is even easier because and that's what is fantastic. It's a new business model in a sense because we are not driven by short-term profit expectation from shareholders. We are driven by a philosophy that is to be here in 300 years old. We're 300 years from now, which is not as generating profit at the end of the science. So it's a bit different and it's a bit easier, but that also enable a different vision. And if you take our vision, we've been in the maritime business for the last 260 years because that's where we started. And we really think that when it comes to food and sustainability, so solution lies in the ocean. We really believe in, and I think we have to be positive. You're right. I mean, when you're saying that we need to keep eating, so there's not much we can do, but we can do it in a different way, and we can think a bit out of the box here. Because if you think about it, the big problem with food comes from the overuse of the land, actually, and we have no solution to produce more food on land, especially more sustainable food. When it comes to the ocean, we are still hunters and gatherers, and we moved from 10,000 years ago. We moved from hunters gatherers to when we industrialized production on land, but we have never done that for the ocean. And bear in mind that 70% of the planet is covered by ocean, and this ocean today they contribute to 2% of our food. And you can grow a lot of things in the ocean, and only 2% of the ocean dedicated to seaweed production would be sufficient to feed 1 billion people in protein, with no need of any animal or vegetable protein. That's huge. We are currently working with the U.S. Department of Energy and with the European Union as well on offshore ecosystems where we can see, because we have the competency to work on all these aspects, but we are thinking and piloting some offshore ecosystem where we can grow seaweed. Seaweed could be a source of feed and a source of fresh water, because seaweed is the only vegetable that grows in salt water, but is full of fresh water. Actually, it's a natural desalination process. So you can grow seaweed for fresh water and feed. Then you can grow. Then you need to put your seaweed somewhere. So you can have wind farm, offshore wind farms, and then you can grow and you put ropes in between the wind farm and grow seaweed there. And then next to it, you can have a big aquaculture of finfish or whitefish production fed by the seaweed. And then you have an independent ecosystem at sea where there's no one at the moment, where there's nothing at the moment. So and the impact on the ecosystem is good because it contributes to natural reproduction for the fish, because it creates an ecosystem for the fish where to reproduce, wild fish, I mean, and so forth. So it's all positive, and it is all possible now. Think about all these oil and gas infrastructures that will be left, or that will be stopped because there's no oil, or because oil is too expensive now, or it's because there's no point of using it because we are moving to renewable energy. So we need to find a different use of the ocean, and we need to start using the ocean to produce food. And there's a lot of solutions. All in all, I think we have to be very optimistic. I mean, there was when I if you look at it back in 1980, so for 50 years ago, 40 years ago, there was 44% of the population that were starving, that were going hungry to bed every day. Today, there's only 9%. So we've been, and food has never been safer. And it's true that the environmental cost has been way too high, but there's way to work on it. There are new solutions, and all together, and that can only be all together, we could be remembered ultimately as the first generation that managed to provide safe and sustainable food to everyone on this planet. And that's really what is at stake to me. And I'm very positive that there's many different ways to achieve that objective, and that all together we will make it.
Well, I think that's a great way to end this. The idea that we need to look at this optimistically. The idea that it's not us against the world. It's not, you know,
Exactly.
kind of futile or lofty goal. That there are positive changes that are taking place. There are people who are invested into this, and there are successes we can point to along the way.
Yeah, absolutely. And once again, every day in our daily life, we are the one making decision about and giving vote about where you want the world to go, just with our purchasing decision.
Great. Well, Vincent, thank you very much. And although my students aren't here live to hear it, I'm sure they would also appreciate, they will appreciate having heard this from you. And I thank you very much.
Thank you.